It's time to engage, educate, and empower with Tracey Maxfield.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Engage, Educate, and Empower. As you know, this podcast was designed to help children, teenagers, and young adults around the world who are struggling with social issues, the life challenges, and the day-to-day problems that they encounter in the community, at home, in school, in college. Every week, I have a really interesting and informative guest who can share their ideas, insights, and perspective on bullying, mental illness, suicide, foster care challenges, mental health awareness, child abuse. We really cover the gamut of all the issues that our kids are presently facing and how we can help them not only educate and empower themselves, but navigate the world that they are currently living in or trying to survive in, for want of a better word. Now, before I give you a little bio on today's guest, a few of you have asked what's actually on the wall behind me. And so for those of you who have actually read my book, Escaping the Rabbit Hole, My Journey Through Depression, you will know that they are the illustrations from various chapters in the book. But if you actually go to my website, www.traceymaxfield.com, there will be a section on book illustrations. And if you click on that, you will see every single illustration that's in the book. I actually had these illustrations enlarged, and I use them at the book release promotion party, but also every time I go to schools or I give talks, I actually take them with me, because when I start displaying them, you can hear the tone in the room change immediately, because so many kids and actually adults can identify with these illustrations. In the book, I use them when words were not necessary. Just doing an illustration with no words or an illustration with a few words kind of gave the idea of how I was feeling that day and what it was like with suicidal thoughts and ideation, anxiety, depression. Anyway, enough about me. Today, I'd like to introduce you to a guest that I'm really looking forward to interviewing. I only just connected with her a few weeks ago, and her story really resonated with me, and I think you will find she's able to share a lot of great information. So her name is Marla Sullivan. She actually has a much longer title. I think it's Marla Karen Hale Sullivan, but today she'd like to go by Marla Sullivan. She actually is a native Texan who has spent the last 30 years serving in public education. She is a graduate of Baylor University and the University of Texas in Austin. She retired in January 2020 after serving the last 10 years as an elementary principal. Marla is the proud mom of two amazing adults and two grandchildren. She is an active blogger and is very excited to have been invited to speak on two other podcasts earlier this year. In her spare time, Marla enjoys walking her boxer dog, cooking, and refit class. She is also planning to write her first book this year. Now, what really drew me to Marla was that she wrote an amazing article called Shifting Mindsets, a social and emotional learning curriculum has transformed teaching and learning in a public school with high mobility and high poverty. And in her article, The Shifting Mindset, she talks about the 7 mindsets which they implemented into the school where she was principal in the various classes, and how it helped the kids deal with stress and social issues and anxiety and overcome their fears and enhance their self-worth and self-confidence. And so, as you can see, I think the insight that she's able to share is going to be invaluable and maybe could also be adopted in other schools globally. Anyway, we're going to take a very quick commercial break, and when I return, it'll be my great pleasure to introduce you to Marla Sullivan.
For more information about Tracey, her mission, the show, Tracey's book, and offered courses from Tracey herself, visit TraceyMaxfield.com. Be sure to catch the latest news on mental health and Tracey's guests on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. While you're visiting TraceyMaxfield.com, make sure to sign up for the free monthly newsletter. Keep track of Tracey with upcoming events, interviews, seasonal tips, and the latest articles on important mental health issues. Plus, when you subscribe, you'll get a copy of Tracey's booklet, Why Our Kids Are Suffering and How We Can Help Them. For more information and to sign up, go to TraceyMaxfield.com. Parents, do you worry about your children or teens? Do they have issues they don't talk to you about? Go to TraceyMaxfield.com to sign up for Tracey's informational courses. Tracey has brought connection to parents and teens all over the world. To learn more, visit TraceyMaxfield.com. A brighter future is possible.
And welcome back, everybody. And as promised, I would like to introduce you to Marla Sullivan. Marla, thank you so very much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
So, as I mentioned when I did my intro on the bio, we've only connected actually for a few weeks, but it was just so interesting to read your paper, which is Shifting Mindsets, and also to share the same vision, the same perspective that you have, that really if we want to truly help our kids, we need to start as soon as they get to school.
Exactly.
Because I've worked in healthcare for so long. I'm a great believer of let's deal with the problems upstream. Let's not wait for the downstream catastrophes and then all the money and the time we invest in trying to rescue or put out fires. So tell me a little bit. You were an elementary principal for 10 years. And so what motivated you to implement this program?
Well, I retired after 30 years in education. And so as a teacher, I don't know that I was fully aware of all of the crises that the children were facing, because at teaching music, they got to escape in my room. Right. And it was safe. And then once I became an administrator, because I was an assistant principal for 5.5 years, and I just noticed kids were growing up a lot faster and not having a true childhood, true in the sense that I knew. Exactly. And then as a principal, we implemented PBIS to focus on positive behaviors, and our school district used CHAMPS and all of the things to teach the behaviors we want. And it was successful with the majority of the kids, I would say. But the kids who were those outliers, their problems seemed to be more prevalent and consume more time. And I was working with my school counselors and felt like we just were not meeting the needs. Mm-hmm. And what really was the tipping point that led to us searching out 7 Mindsets was a little boy came to me in kindergarten, so 5 years old, and in reading the paperwork that came with him, we were his 5th school. Oh my goodness. He was 5, and he was living with his 5th set of adults. So one can imagine the anger that was in this precious little boy. Yes. And so it was really trying to work outside the box and help him. And he came a very long way over the course of his kindergarten and into his 1st grade year. That family was not committed to him. They told him from the very beginning, we're getting rid of you as soon as we can find somebody. Which crushed my heart. Yes. And they followed through, because about September or early October of his 1st grade year, he was yanked from that family and rehomed again. So, my staff put together a care package for him and all sorts of things. And I contacted the principal where he was going for that time and sent everything to that school so that he would know that we didn't give up on him. But that's becoming more common. Sadly, it is. And even with he was with his biological grandmother, and she didn't want him. And the behaviors were challenging. They were challenging, but this was a kid in true crisis. And he was doing all he knew to do at 5 years old.
Of course.
And so my counselor, I said, okay, we've got to find some social emotional learning curriculum. I was getting flooded with emails, and literally every educational journal that I opened up talked about mental health crisis in the public schools. But nobody really had a solution other than this new buzzword, social emotional learning. But as I read in it, I'm like, well, I believe in these things. These are great skills.
Exactly.
So my counselor went to a CASEL conference that summer and connected with the people at 7 Mindsets. And so she came back, brought me a book and a booklet that they have that goes with implementation, and had a conference call with Dwayne, and I was on board. And so we implemented it and saw great success. The language was very common to what we were already using.
Yes.
So that was helpful. And, accepting personal responsibility, because that was the way I had a conversation with kids when they would come, if they were in trouble. Well, he made me, no, we're going back up. He's not the boss of you. So you need to start your sentence with I and tell me what happened. And giving them that language and making it safe to say, and but making it a learning process.
I agree.
So this year was year 2, and was when we really started implementing the parent training component, because the parents who understood what it was were huge fans and were like, what can I use at home? And that particular curriculum and program has a parent portal. And so we're able to give them online access to tools to use at home as well. And so I wanted to write the article, and it was published through the Texas Association of Texas Professional Educators Journal, because I wanted to help other schools who might potentially be looking for something know that there's something out there that is not cost prohibitive, and that is, when implemented with fidelity, it's effective.
Absolutely. So obviously there's going to be lots of people that are watching the podcast right now that are going, what are the 7 mindsets? So would you like to share the 7 mindsets?
Yes, I will. When we go to a commercial break, I will get the booklet so that I quote it exactly.
Well, I can actually, because we've got a little bit of time before the commercial break, what I can do is I've written them down.
Okay.
Yes. So the 7 mindsets, everything is possible.
Yes. And with that, the reason the booklet, and I didn't include it all in the article because, of course, word count limit, there are 4 sub-concepts under each of the 7. There's actually 28, but they lump it into the 7, and then there's 4 skill sets underneath each of those.
Okay, so I'll tell you what.
Okay.
Why don't I put you on pause for 1 minute so you can go and get the booklet, and then when you come back, we can start talking about it, because I think this is something that everyone wants to know about.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let's. So, for those of you that just wondered what happened, we went for a very, very quick pause so Marla could run and get the booklet and come back. But I didn't want to show that on the podcast.
I don't want to misquote anything. It's too important.
Okay, so
within the everything is possible mindset, the 4 concepts underneath that are dream big, embrace creativity, think positive,
love it,
act and adjust. And so at my school, we were really helping the kids realize that how you approach each day is your choice.
Yes.
And so my hashtag, I'm sure you've seen on my email, is choose joy.
Choose joy.
Because no matter what negativity exists in our world, there's always a positive choice.
Yes.
And so no matter what baggage happened on the school bus, or as you were getting out of the car and your mom is screaming at you, okay, now you're safe, you're at school. So what's your choice today? And so that was very powerful with little kids.
Oh, and teenagers. So I'll just share something. I spoke at a school a few years ago after my book was published, and it was middle school students. A 13-year-old boy came up to me. I was talking about my book, and they wanted to know all about depression and suicide. And he said, can I talk to you? He fell into my shoulder crying, saying, I've been in the rabbit hole for 7 years. When will I escape? So it means he had had clinical depression with suicide ideation for 6 years. Went to a private place, sat down and started talking to him, and everything obviously was very dark and negative and no hope. And I said, there has to be something that you're grateful for today, that makes you smile and gives you joy. And he was like, no. And I said, well, when you came to school, did your mom kiss you and say she loved you? And he said, well, yeah, she always does that. I said, but that should give you joy. Somebody is telling you you are important and you are special and that they love you. And he went, oh, okay. I said, so, go outside. It's a sunny day. Feel the sun on your face. I said, that will make you smile because it feels so good. I said, that's joy. And it seems like the kids don't even understand what that means, gratitude and joy. And then I said, can you tell me something else that you're grateful for today that gives you joy? And he was like, no, I can't. And I said, well, can I share something with you? And he was like, okay. And of course, this was 20 minutes in. He'd calmed down significantly and opened up. And I said, well, you came to school today and you didn't even realize that you'd have this hot older woman sit down next to you and hug you. I said, not everyone else is getting that in this school. And he just started laughing and laughing and laughing. And I said, but that made you smile and made you happy. I said, that's joy. I said, that's gratitude. And he looked at me and he went, okay, I get it now. And off he went. And later on, as I was leaving, he actually passed the library, saw me, jumped up and down, arms waving like that, going, thank you. And I thought, but it's true.
Yes.
Right? Kids do not understand because everything is so dark and hopeless. And I was the same when I had to start gratitude when I was going through my depression. And I said, what have I got to be grateful for? And it is a mindset, but it's also a big switch. But no, I think I say all the time, we've got to start as soon as they go to school.
Yes. And so mindset number 2, passion first. And so our children are taught to focus on their strengths, explore their interest, take a stand, and then most importantly, be authentic.
Yes.
Because, social media makes it like you just got to keep up with the Joneses and pursue that next thing. And if you don't have it all, you have nothing. And even the picture that people put up, a lot of times it's not really what they look like if you saw them on any given day.
I absolutely agree. Yes.
And so teaching kiddos from little, and the gratitude piece, that is one of the mindsets that we'll get to. The mindset number 3, and this one really would reach into, especially to those teenagers, we are connected.
Yes.
Because they feel so isolated sometimes. I'm sure that little boy felt very isolated, bouncing from school to school and house to house.
Of course.
And why wouldn't you? And at 5, what do you do with that?
Exactly.
But teaching them we're connected, embracing everyone, maximizing positive relationships. I see things on Facebook all the time. If your tribe is not lifting you up, find a new tribe.
Yes.
Build your dream team and lead with value. And so we're building leadership skills in our students, even from 5 years old.
That's
not just
awesome.
line leader, but really to stand up and lead and, tell the bully to stop, help the child with the victim away, be there, be that person. And then the next mindset is 100% accountable. And of course, that one's one that, teachers love to grab onto because you're accountable, and which is great. Yes, I fully believe the students are, but so are we as the adults.
Right.
And so we're accountable for what we're putting out to the kids, whether it's academic instruction or values or relationship building. That starts with the adult. The kids in elementary school, kids in junior high don't know how to reach out necessarily. So owning your life, overcoming limiting beliefs, focusing your energy, and growing through life. So making our students aware that we are lifelong learners, that it doesn't just stop when you get to be a teacher. You're going to go and you're going to participate in professional development. As a principal, I still was seeking out ways to grow and become a better leader, in personal growth. Then I think my favorite of the 7 mindsets is mindset 5, which is attitude of gratitude. And yeah, I've talked to my staff and my students often about my journaling practice that always has at least 4 things, if not 5, that I'm grateful for. Something simple like the sun is shining.
Yes.
That makes me feel better. And regardless of the temperature, sun is life, is energy.
Yes.
And so then under attitude of gratitude is treasuring yourself. And so especially, I mean, for any age kid, but I can just envision for teenagers, if they don't value themselves, it does take them into a dark hole.
Definitely.
Because and if the voice in their head is the voice of their parent telling them they're stupid or they're a failure, I felt it was the school's responsibility to switch that voice and help them create their own voice, not just me be their biggest cheerleader, but them be their biggest cheerleader. And so other than treasuring themselves, be more grateful, think it forward, and elevate your perspective. So we're teaching them to see the bigger picture. And we implemented just through our student council and a kindness club, different acts of service around the campus and within our community so that they were seeing beyond themselves how to give back. And then live to give is the next mindset. So stretching yourself, making a difference, learning to receive gracefully, and creating a legacy. And the receiving gracefully, I mean, I think of it in adults terms, because how many times somebody will say, oh, your hair looks really good today. And our first thought is, it wouldn't even do what I wanted it to do today. Just learn to say thank you.
Yes.
Just thank you. And so for me, the creating a legacy, as I was getting ready to retire and leave a school that I absolutely loved, I could stop and think, okay, so I have this legacy there. They have this new language. They celebrate joy. They are paying it forward. I have trained many, many interns who are now assistant principals and some building principals. So that reach is still going. And so in retirement with what's next, between blogging and being able to speak on podcasts, and I am starting down the path of writing my own book.
Yeah.
And so I'm excited about that. And it really is focusing on the last 10 years of my career, because that's where my leadership style and personal development really, 40s moving into 50s, that's where I really grew up.
Yes, yes.
And so then the last mindset is the time is now, teaching our students to embrace every moment,
Yes.
Get in the zone, being vulnerable and acting with purpose. And kids a lot of times think they're invincible. And I think most recently the tragedy with Kobe Bryant and the people on that plane. He's left a legacy, and that's great, but he didn't get on that plane thinking they were going to die that day.
No. And I mean, a 13-year-old, his 13-year-old daughter.
And then the ones that are left behind with
Exactly.
whether survivor guilt or whatever. I was fortunate to participate in a personal development leadership experience in 2016 called High Five Leadership. And part of the process there is a closing circle, and they used the song Live Like You Were Dying by Tim McGraw. And so I brought that back to my campus, and I said, and people cry because you're thinking of, because it starts out about if you were diagnosed with cancer, what would you do?
Yes.
And I said, but it's not about death. It's about life. Yes, it can make you, especially if you've lost someone to cancer, it brings that pain, but it's about embracing life while you have that life.
Absolutely.
And so that has been very powerful. And so some of my teachers, that's not a song they're using with kiddos, but they let the kiddos pick, and they were doing opening circles to set their tone for the day and set their attitude, whether it was Rascal Flatts' My Wish or Carrie Underwood, The Champion. And so that was across the campus, opening and closing circles were helping create those connections within those classroom communities. And the kids then were using the affirmation statements of, I am pretty, I am smart, and helping become that voice.
Awesome, because I am so 100% with you here. This is what I am all, talking about all the time. It's, we've got to help these kids develop self-love and values, and to be kind to other people and be more compassionate, because we have become, as you said, we've become a very judgmental society, and this is globally. This is not just an American problem.
Yeah. Worldwide.
It's worldwide. And we've also what's happened is we have become the comparison and materialistic society generation, where, we want to be bigger, best, better than everybody else. We want to be the same, but we want to be better. And we want to have all the new toys and gadgets. And I think what's got lost in translation is parents and families are believing that giving your child, your teenager, what they want is an expression of love. But if you don't actually show love and tell them how much you love them, these kids do not believe that, because if they're beating themselves up and going through struggles in life, I've spoken to so many teenagers who actually attempted to die by suicide, and thankfully did not. But every single one of them has said they felt that no one would miss them, that no one really cared or loved them, and that they had become a burden, and so their family would actually be better off without them. And that is so heartbreaking that you come to that decision at that age. It's our kids have been robbed of their childhood. They really have, because of what they're expected to deal with and what they're being bombarded with every single day.
Exactly. I had students who were 100% responsible for getting themselves up and their siblings up, finding whatever for breakfast, getting some clothes on, and getting to the bus stop. And while, yes, I think kids need to learn responsibility, their job is not to parent.
Not at all. Not at all. But also, I think the other opposite of that is we then have the parents who believe that they're their kid's best friend.
Oh, yes.
And are there for everything and anything, even engaging in, I'm going on with this, you're going out with your friends to a party, well, I'm coming with you. And it's like, no, kids need a parent. They need a routine, they need structure, they need rules, they need someone who's going to guide them, not be propping up the bar, encouraging you to do tequila shots at 15 years old.
Right.
It's like, what?
And as principal, I would have parents say, well, they didn't want to get up today. Okay, and I'm the mom, you're getting up.
I think in an attempt to be a laid back parent, many parents have not developed the skill sets to know when to draw the line. And I think with many, it gets to a point where they've allowed their child, their teenager, to take advantage and do so many things that when they finally say, I'm putting my foot down, it falls on deaf ears, because at that point, the child or the teen just taken over the house. And so,
we're seeing that younger and younger in
yes,
school, where the word no is nothing more than a trigger for a fit, because they want their way. And unfortunately at school, you don't get your way. There's 22 others in your room, and we're here to learn. And so that is where 7 Mindsets has been very beneficial, because then you can shift that conversation to their accountability, and you're making a choice not to learn, but your choice is now impacting all these other people in the room, and that's not okay.
No, I think it's great, because we know that there are many kids that do not have supportive parents, or do not have parents if they're caught in the foster system, which brings its own set of challenges, because what this child has to deal with. But at least knowing that there is a safe space and there's adults and peers that are going to help you and work with you and help you develop these great values. My hope is that even when they then return to a home environment where it's not as embracing and supportive, that these values stick with them and enable them, give them that inner strength to, okay, but I know I'm loved and valued. 25 people told me today.
Yes.
Okay, and work through it. And that's an awful lot of responsibility to put on kids' shoulders, but we need to start giving them these strategies, this skill set, because we know it's not a nice world out there, and there's a lot of mean people.
Mm-hmm. And they need to be able to be their own champion, because, you know, just because you make it to adulthood and are gainfully employed doesn't always mean that your workplace is the most uplifting either.
No.
And so, again, it still has to come from within.
Yes. I would imagine, because we know, I mean, I'm in my, well, I'm going into my second half of my 50s. Let's not say edging closer to 60, because that's a little, whoa. But even now, I'm still learning. I learned an awful lot when I fell down the rabbit hole and had to come to terms with fighting to live. And it changed me. It changed everything about me, and hence why, sorry, you go lie down. And it enabled me to come up with a different mindset, and hence where the gratitude and the mindfulness really came into play, and really understanding what that meant. I think the challenge is that I hope, you make me lose my thought process. I think the hope is that the 7 mindsets will actually help other parents who maybe have been struggling, because we all have demons.
Yes.
And maybe has helped them move to a better place. What about, were there parents that were absolutely like, I'm not doing this, I do not agree?
Sure.
And at that, what do you then do?
I think I've shared in a different podcast, I'm really good at connecting with kids that have behavioral and emotional struggles. If I can partner with their parents, it makes my job easier. But for your kids, because kids are smart and kids are resilient. And so if I didn't have the parents on board, then it's really teaching them, all right, at school, this is how we think, this is how we speak, this is how we operate. Someday you're not going to be living at home, and you're going to be out on your own. And so out in the workplace, these are the skills you need to work respectfully with a coworker, and really just kind of helping them compartmentalize that this is the norm in this environment, because I can't control their home. I mean, Lord knows I wish I could sometimes, or just yank them out of it and just take them myself.
Yes.
But I can't. And so, I continue to work with the parents, and always educate, always, always, always. But at the end of the day, and I think that's part of what spoke to me so much when I saw the initial thing about your podcast, it is about empowering the kiddos, because, in Texas, test scores are like the big thing. And, yes, we want them academically successful. But for me, my measure of success was, are they leaving my campus a better person?
Yes.
Do they have core values? Can they think on their feet? Because I've never asked anybody as, hey, what was your score on your ACT? I ask people, do you love kids?
Yeah.
And so my mark of success is those kids that I see come from turmoil and leave with a proud posture, and they're successful, and they can go into junior high, and they're holding their head up, and they're making eye contact. And that's my success.
And that's absolutely awesome. Love it. Love it. Love it. Would have loved the opportunity to have come down to the school where you were the principal to see this in action, because this is what I would love to see in every single school, yes, everywhere, and it's so simple, but it helps them develop so much. And I'm sure by doing this, you must have seen a reduction in bullying.
Oh, yes. And I mean, not an extinction, because I mean, kids are mean.
We know that.
And
but
that's unfortunate. But then also, we really work to educate our students, our staff, and the families. Not every mean act is bullying.
Exactly.
You know, just because they don't want to play with you doesn't make them a bully. There are people I don't want to play with. Now, if I punched them in the face and didn't want to, you know, that's, now we're getting different. But
Different, yeah.
really educating them about what it is, and no, it's not okay to be mean, but we're not going to just label every mean person a bully.
That's right.
But it did. I mean, when we implemented PBIS, my very first year there, which is the positive behavior, teaching them what you expect, what it looks like. I mean, explicitly teaching how to line up in the hall, how to stand in line at the restroom, you know, all of those things that, okay, maybe they should know, but they don't.
They don't, yeah.
So it reduced our discipline referrals by 60% in year one.
Awesome.
And so, you know, recidivism in our in-school suspension room was reduced to really those chronic outliers, which helped us identify them.
Right.
These are the kids we haven't reached yet. And so this year we revamped our curriculum in there to include 7 mindsets lessons, so that whatever action the child had engaged in, now we're going to work through this lesson again. And we're going to talk one-on-one about what you did and what you can do in the future. Because somebody's going to make you mad again in the future. I mean, that's life.
That's life. Mm-hmm.
You know, my go-to was, okay, well, somebody cuts me off in line at Walmart. Can I ram them with my cart? And they're like, no.
No.
Oh, but you just did. You just did that at school. And you helping them make those connections. And, you know, it was something I did as a parent. And so it was very natural for me to do that in the role of teacher, assistant principal. Everything is a teachable moment.
Yes, I
When
agree.
I had to make the calls to the parents, and, you know, if they came to school and they were going to tell their child, you're so stupid, nobody wants, I'm like, whoa. No, ma'am. That is not the case. They're not a bad child. They're a child who made a mistake. And, you know, I'm quick to say there's not any of us walking this planet who don't make mistakes every single day.
Absolutely.
And so our job at school is to help them learn from that mistake and not repeat it. And, you know, so it really, I was very intentional with my language with the parents as well, because it's unrealistic to expect a child of any age to be perfect. And they're going to make mistakes. And so they need to learn how to fail forward.
I agree.
I didn't get it this time, but I'm still a good person, and my mom still loves me. My principal still loves me. And, you know, so even when kids were in school suspension, I'm going to go by there, check on them. How's your work going? Do you need any help? So that the relationship is still there. I'm not mad at you.
And I love that, because, yes, I talk a lot about failure, and I don't even like the word failure, because I don't believe it's not failing. It's just you did not accomplish what you set out to do. And have the opportunity to sit down and reflect upon, okay, what could I have done differently? What will I do differently the next time? And I think, as you have seen firsthand, too many parents and too many schools are caught in this mode of no one loses, everyone's a winner. And what happens is that when, you know, even in competition, oh no, no one loses. Well, no one loses, but if you're in a competition, there is someone who has first, second, third place. Does not mean you've lost and you are a loser, because you actually participated.
Right.
But it's the labeling of you have to be a winner or a loser, you know, a failure. And it's like, you cannot be putting those words in kids' heads, even teenagers' heads, because then you set unrealistic expectations for them, and they can't navigate the world if they always get what they want, right? If they're always first, if they're always the winner, because guess what? When you get out into the real world, you're going to have to deal with a lot of stuff, and you will not always succeed. That try again motto. But yes, I think a lot of it is language. We really have to change how we address certain things and use different vocabulary.
Yes. And I don't remember if it was a Brene Brown podcast, but it was a podcast I was listening to, and the speaker said, I either succeed or I learn.
Learn, absolutely. That's what I always say. Every experience, good or bad, is a learning opportunity. And you have to look at it like that, because otherwise you will beat yourself up. And we know negative self-talk is our enemy. And no one can beat ourselves up more than us. Me, myself, I am my own worst enemy. You think you can say bad things about me? Now I can say even more bad things.
Right.
So, but we have to. And yes, I love Brené Brown. Absolutely love her, because yes, she talks about what we all know and what we all want to share with the world. I wish that they would start showing some of her shorter videos to children, to teenagers, because she's able to connect with anybody.
She is.
Because she's so authentic, genuine, but so kind. And it's just everything resonates, because she uses humor and always points out, some of her not failures, but where she's had to have a point of growth and learning. And just watching them, it uplifts you.
Yes.
It really does. And so it would be so great if even something like that could be shared with kids, for them to get that concept of even adults are being taught about this.
Right.
But that's so. Now we've got just maybe about 5 minutes or so left. You said you were planning to write a book, and so what is the book going to be about? You said you lost 10 years of self-reflection and growth.
Yes. And so stemming from when I first joined the campus that I retired from, because it was a large campus configured with 3 buildings, I was very intentional in helping teachers get to know one another, because they actually didn't. I think I knew 2 people when I moved to that campus, and I'm the type of, we're first name basis. And so I was very intentional with team building. And so that first Friday we'd had kids, and it's really to help me kind of process the week. I sat down and sent a school-wide email, called it Friday Reflections. And I just kind of stream of consciousness. These are the things I saw this week. I really enjoyed being in such and such class. And, so there were some shout outs to teachers and highlights, but it was really just through my eyes, what they could see, and kind of reflecting on some of the summer PD that we'd had, and, who I had seen implementing it. So it was a way of keeping things in their minds.
Yep.
And it was a whim. And the feedback I got from the teachers was unbelievable. Just, yes. Oh my gosh, I didn't even know this was happening on our campus. This is so cool. And so I was at that campus for 8 years, and I never missed a Friday or whatever the last day of the week was.
Awesome.
Even if I was out of town at a training, I sent one long distance, because it was important to our culture.
Yes.
And it really helped me, and I'm very successful overall with parents, but you're going to have those outliers who nothing's going to make them happy because they don't want to be happy. And so they would consume a lot of energy in that moment, but obviously that wasn't going to go in the email. And so by kind of going through all the amazing things, like a gratitude journal, all the amazing things from the week, it kept my perspective of, okay, they were one little blip. And, I'm going to keep working to build that relationship, but in the grand scheme of a week, they're one person.
Exactly.
And so it kept me in a mentally and emotionally healthy place as well. And so through the course of the years, I was able to weave in the various book studies that we did, find a meme, or I love Snoopy, so a Snoopy image to go with the season, whatever it was, just to keep my staff engaged and connected.
I was going to say connection.
Yes.
So big what you were doing, that connection. They're all working together for the greater good. Yeah.
And it led to, hey, I want to go visit so-and-so's class. And I was like, sure, I'll get you a sub. Take half a day, go visit however many classes you want to visit. So it really helped break down some barriers that had existed as well. And it made it not scary to want to go see a colleague teach. And it was a fun way to keep everything that was going on at the campus keep the main thing, which was working all together to create a great place for kids.
Love
and
it.
So in organizing my book, I want to start with like about 2010, because that was the year that I became a principal, and I was at a high performance school at that time. And then making the choice to move to the campus that I just left, which at the time was, I knew, struggling academically. I didn't know necessarily the culture needs, but, I had spent 15 and a half years at one campus in the district, and the principalship at that campus came open at the same time as this other one. So like everybody thought, oh, she's just going to go back. And so I stepped out of my comfort zone and asked, I want to go here. I believe I have things I can offer that campus. And so it was choice.
Yes.
And so then the intention that I put in creating that culture, and then I mentioned I went to High Five Leadership in 2016. And so how that impacted me personally, that then I flipped into my professional life. And so then moving forward from 2016 till January 2020, when I retired, and I've encouraged my staff all along, take that next big leap, even if it means leaving our comfort zone. Yay, you're growing.
Yes.
You can still take all that we believe and share it somewhere else.
Pay it forward. Absolutely.
And so when this school year started, John Gordon's book, The Coffee Bean, had just come out. And so very first day of our PD back together, I literally just put my house on the market. I read that book to my staff. And in a nutshell, it's, you can be like a carrot and your environment causes you to soften and shrink. You can be like an egg and the environment hardens you and you've got walls up. Or you can be the coffee bean, you add hot water and it transforms the environment. So, I mean, it's this simple little story that has all this power. And so I read it to him and I was like, so we already are changing the culture in our district and we are coffee beans. And so this year, I let him know, I said, I'm not finishing this year. I'm retiring in January and this is what's happening in our lives. And, so amidst the tears and the hugs, it was still, we're going to celebrate because you're going to continue to grow and do things somewhere else. And you always encourage us to leave our comfort zone. And so, we can't be selfish and not wish you the best.
Of course.
And so it was very much, an emotional year. But on my last day there, they surprised me with a school-wide assembly that was a celebration with all the kids. And all, it was amazing. My parents were able to be there, but it truly was a celebration. And, and it's amazing to feel that much love, and it made it that much harder to leave, but it is opening new doors for me.
Of course.
And so it's very exciting. And so that's how I want to kind of weave the story in the book. So it's not so much here's how you lead a school, but here's how choosing joy, choosing outside your comfort zone, being intentional can create a culture, not just in school, anywhere.
Of kinder, more compassionate, understanding people. Yeah, we all need to be coffee beans. We don't have enough coffee beans.
Exactly. And so there have been so many powerful books that have been influences along the way. And then as I have jumped into the podcast world, there are so many out there that are amazing. And so I want to write a book. People are like, well, you need to write a book about all the crazy stories. And I said, well, I may, but I would rather start with a book of, how I've made decisions in these last 10 years that have empowered me to do things I never knew I could or would do, and how it impacted a community of learners.
I was going to say, it's that because when you have change within yourself, it cannot help but filter into other people's lives, into the community. And so I think that's so awesome. And you will, yes, I never thought I would write a book, but you will find it so, it's very cathartic, but also it really lifts you. It's so uplifting. And when you get that very first copy of your book, as it stares in you in a box, and you just stand there and you're like, oh my goodness, it is. So, and I can't wait to read it. So you need to make sure that you let me know when it's published because I so want to read it. Marla, thank you so much. This has been such joy for me because to speak to a principal who has changed the kids' lives and enabled them to develop the values that I so want schools to do everywhere, and that it was easier to do, and also there was such positive change, not only with the students but with parents and with the teachers. So everyone was a collective whole. It's so amazing, and I thank you so much. We're going to go to a very quick commercial break. We'll see all the social media links so you can actually connect with Marla, and please do so. And also there's going to be a hyperlink so you can actually read her paper, and it's not a long read, it's only 4 pages. Shifting Mindsets, but she takes you from the beginning of when they implemented it and the changes that occurred and how they did it. And honestly, I think every teacher, every parent needs to read this and then go to your school and say, why can't we do this? SLE, the shift in mindsets. Marla, thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's been a wonderful and inspiring podcast, and my soul feels enriched. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Marla Sullivan is a native Texan who spent the last 30 years serving in public education. She's a graduate of Baylor University and the University of Texas in Austin. She retired in January of 2020 after serving the last 10 years as an elementary school principal. Marla is the proud mom of 2 amazing adults and 2 grandchildren, and now she's an active blogger and has been a guest on numerous podcasts. Marla has also been a published author, including her latest piece, Shifting Mindsets, a social and emotional learning curriculum, has transformed teaching and learning in public school with high mobility and high poverty. The article was published in ATPE News Magazine. She enjoys walking her dog, cooking, and refit class. Marla is planning to write her very first book this year. To find more information about Marla, visit her blog at powerfulprinciple.wordpress.com. Follow her on Twitter at MCS_MSS, and check her out on LinkedIn.
Hey everybody, welcome back. And I think you'll all agree that was such an amazing interview with Marla, and so much that we can all learn, not only as parents and as teachers, but just everyone. Please do check out her social media links, especially the article. Read the article, print it, take it to your PTA meeting, take it to the principal, take it to the school. But it's so easy if we can start implementing the mindsets, the 7 mindsets, and creating change in our kids. And so just a quick reminder before I say sayonara, the 7 mindsets. Everything is possible. Passion is first. We are connected. 100% accountable. Attitude of gratitude, live to give, the time is now. These are all mindsets that not only we can help our children and teenagers embody, but also as adults. And I think the world would become a kinder, gentler, more supportive, an understanding place to live, where we help one another and we stand together to make a difference. So thank you again for joining another podcast, Engage, Educate, and Empower. And I'll be back again, same time, same place, next Thursday, where I'll be interviewing another amazing guest. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great week.